How to ProPress copper fittings, the good and the bad. We're going to talk about it right now. How to ProPress copper fittings, the good and the bad. In this video, what we're going to talk about is ProPress. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me about ProPress. I'm an old school plumber. I believe in soldering, but as you can see, I have ProPress and MegaPress. The reason that I have these are there are situations where this is the best system and the best thing to use, and that's what I'm all about. ProPress is a good product. Some of y'all have seen my videos about shark bite fittings, and I don't necessarily believe in those because I don't believe in fittings that just push together and pull apart. And you can say, well, they don't pull apart, but guys, there's a lot of videos out there that show the leak problems that they have. And that's not just what I'm about. What I like about ProPress, and I'm going to open it up here in a minute and show you about it, is the fact that there are really good things about it. ProPress can be used on copper, on PEX, on steel, on stainless steel. So there's a lot of different usage for it. Now, I've got the MegaPress fittings for gas. I've got the ProPress fittings for copper. And what I like about it on copper, it's good on potable water systems, hot and cold. It's good on radiant heating. It is good on fire protection systems and good on gas systems. Now, there's special fittings, don't get me wrong. You've got to make sure that you buy the fittings for gas, but these fittings, the good things about them, they really take the labor out of the job. And what I mean by that is just preparing the ends. These ends are already prepared. Now, they don't look like it, but I've already reamed the inside of them. So the good thing about it is they're ready to go now. Now, on copper, if I was soldering this, I would have not only had to ream the inside, but clean the outside, clean the inside of my fittings, flux it, get everything ready, put it all together, and then get a torch, heat it all up to the right temperature, solder it, and then wait for it to cool down. I'm going to show you the ProPress here in just a second because it's a lot quicker. Another good thing about that is without the torch, I don't have to get a hot work permit. What I mean by that, I used to do a lot of commercial work. First time I actually used this was at Medical City, Dallas. We had to add a line to extend it up to a roof on a vent off of a medical gas system. Now, this vent was not medical gas specific, and I am med gas trained, but all they were literally trying to do is raise it up so they could raise the roof a little bit. We were able to do this with ProPress without having to shut down the system. We cut the line down so we'd have a good area to work in. We cut the piece to go up as high as we wanted it to go, literally put the coupling on, slid the pipe down in there, and then made 2 crimps and we were done. So when I go back to hot work permits out at Texas Instruments, anytime you fired up a torch, you had to have a hot work permit. You also had to have someone doing fire watch, and you were supposed to keep that person around an extra hour to watch anywhere sparks could have been to make sure that nothing comes up to an hour later. Guys, the cost of labor can get very expensive. With this, you don't need it. With no flame, there is no hot work permit. Now, on the good side, let's talk about cost. If you use shark bite fittings, these fittings are about half the price. 2 other really good things, you do not have to get all the water out of the lines in order to use these. When you put these together, if there's water still flowing through it, just a little bit, a trickle, or maybe even a pretty good flow, it can still squeeze it tight enough that it seals it off and you don't have any problem. Now think about that if you've ever been in a situation under a pier and beam house or somewhere where you couldn't get the water to stop. This is great. You put this in, you press it, and it'll seal it off even with water in the line. You can't do that with a torch. You know, when you try to heat it up and solder, it's going to constantly boil and create pressure in there, and it's going to blow solder out on you. You don't have that problem here. Another good thing about this, if you've done med gas, you understand oxidation in the system. When you heat up copper and it's got that oxygen in there, it leaves a powder or a burn on the inside of the fitting. If you've got it fluxed up and you heat it up, all that flux inside there burns and leaves a residue on the inside. When you use this, there's nothing inside to leave that. Now let's talk about the bad. First of all, the price of the tool. Guys, this tool was about almost $3,000. The Mega Lugs, the Mega Jaws for the MegaPress were about $2,500. So I've got about $5,500 worth of tools here. I think I bought these refurbished because I don't use them a lot. But if I was a big commercial company and I use these all the time, I would probably want to buy brand new tools and make sure that we kept care of them. Make sure that we took good care of them. The reason being, this is a big investment. Even buying refurbished tools was a big investment. But if I was buying these brand new and even buying multiple sets for crews, this could get very expensive. I told you the price of the fitting was good compared to shark bite. The price of these fittings are bad compared to regular copper fittings. To be honest, regular copper fittings, this is about 10 times as expensive. The 90 that cost me about 85 cents, this is going to cost me about $8.50. So where do I make my money? Hopefully I can do it in labor. One more bad thing, accessibility. What if, and I'll pull this tool out here in just a second, but what if you can't get that tool in there? What if you can't get the jaws in there? Guys, there are times you are still going to have to use a torch. I know some of y'all are going to say, well, I'm just going to use a shark bite fitting. I feel sorry for your customer, but it is what it is. What I would do, always look at where you're installing this and how you can install it. If you can use this, it's a great thing. If you can't, then it's time to think about busting out the torch. Two things that make these a really wise decision. If you can use this, the ease of use and safety. Guys, think about it. If you don't have a flame, you don't have hot work and people having to watch that and the safety of it, this is really a good investment. It can save you labor in the long run. The time to install a fitting is about 30% what it would be with a torch. And you got to figure, if you can save 70% labor on every fitting on the job, think about what that is going to do to your labor cost. Because if you can get your labor down 70%, guys, you should do very well on your job. Now, let's bust this tool out and see what we can do. So safety is one of the first things you want to think about anytime you do any job. Now, we're working on 3/4 inch ProPress, so I want to make sure that I've got the right jaws. You slide them in and take this pin and lock it. And what I like about it, this pin doesn't come out. This is the Rigid RP330. It's got an 18 volt rechargeable battery. And I'll tell you what, I really like this and I've got a lot of good work out of it. Now that I've got this in here, as you notice, this head rotates. And that's good because it's going to let me put it into whatever position I need to get it in. So I may be in a position where I need to hold it like this, but I need the jaws to go across. And if so, I can turn it, open up the jaws, slide it onto my piece right where I want it. Now what I want to show you here is literally this is going to open up. Your copper fitting is going to slide right in there and go just like that. Now I'm not going to squeeze it now, and I actually don't even have the power on now, but we're going to wait until we get the copper in there because whenever we squeeze this thing, it's going to actually crimp it and it's not coming undone. But I just kind of wanted to show you how it goes in to these jaws, and there's actually a groove there that this fitting actually sets in. So like I said, depending on where you've got it, you may want this turned up and down, or you may want it turned sideways. And getting it into the right position in the wall and getting it where you want it is going to be a big part of the thing. So like I said, we have already reamed the burrs out of the inside of the copper, so we know that it's nice and smooth in there. So what we're going to do is slide our fitting all the way in where we want it on both pieces, and we know that's all the way in. And then what we're going to do, we're going to mark it. That way we know this fitting is all the way in. Now say I was wanting this turned up on a 90. I may actually hold a level on it, go ahead and get it square the way I want it, and then may put a mark this way. That way I know I get that turned exactly the way I want it. But now that I've got it marked, I can get everything lined up, get my jaws turned the way that I want them, turn the power on, and as you can see, I've got a green light down here telling me I've got a full battery. So we're going to open the jaws up, put them right where we want them, get them the way we want it, and we want to make sure that we're holding the gun square to the pipe. And then, once it pops, we know we're good. So we did this one and we know it's tight, and we can still take it apart in case we didn't do anything. but we can also see that our mark is all the way in. So now we're going to get it lined up again. Get everything the way that we want it. Open the jaws up. Get them in position. Make sure everything is square. And guys, that's literally all there is to using the ProPress tool. Now, one thing about these is once they're in, they don't turn. They're just like a solder joint. This is really as good as a solder joint, and I like it in a lot of situations that maybe you don't have room or a hot work permit to get in and work with. So you saw how easy that was. This is something you can learn to do, and if you can afford that tool, it can save you a lot of money in labor later. That's what I like about ProPress. That's what I like about this type system. It works, and it can literally save you a lot of money if you're on a big enough job, or if you can use it in a situation where maybe it's going to save you a couple of hours on a job. Now, I know a couple of hours at a time don't add up to a lot, but over time, it can save you money. Now, if you use a ProPress already, let me know, what tool do you use? Because they make different ones. And what do you use it for? Do you just use it for potable water? Do you use it for radiant heating? Do you use it for fire protection? Or do you use it for gas? Some of us use it in multiple things. I use it for potable water and natural gas. But like I said, there's different fittings for that, and there's different jaws, and you've got to make sure you're using the right thing. So please leave us a comment down below and let us know what you're using it for. And if you hadn't done so yet, please subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on anything. I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the expert plumber, and I'll see you on the next video if you don't get flushed.